Hey guys, it's me, Caitlin, and welcome to part 3 of my horse buying series when you first get your new horse home. So last month we talked specifically about groundwork, and so hopefully that's going well and you're, working with your horse and you're getting to know them a little bit better. So now we're going to talk about the under saddle portion. So like I said, you should have been doing groundwork with your horse, getting to know them a little bit better, figuring out what cues they respond to and maybe where they're lacking in some places. I also want to point out that at this point you should probably have had a saddle fitter out to make sure all your tack fits, make sure you have a well-fitted bridle and bit. That's super important for the first ride because you want to set this horse up for success, and you don't want them to have any sore spots, when you first start working with them. So, as always, if you run into any problems, I always tell people there's no problem with reaching out to a trainer. I've had some people purchase horses and send them directly to me for training for a couple weeks, to a month or whatnot. There's no problem with that as well, but there's also no problem with just bringing your horse home too. But like I said, if you start getting frustrated or run into problems, reach out to a trainer, get some help before things start to kind of escalate and then snowball, because we don't want that. So today we're going to talk about a couple things that I look for on a first ride with a new horse. So like I said, you should pretty well know the horse at this point, and pretty much what the horse does on the ground is what they're going to do under saddle. How they lunge, how responsive they are, all of those things is going to be how they will be under saddle. So like I said, if you know there's a certain spot where the horse has some holes, maybe they're a little bit dull, lazier side, they're probably going to be that way under saddle. So that might be something to think about when you start planning your riding routines. But like I said, we're going to talk about 4 things that I look for in during the first ride. So my biggest pet peeve, which I put at number 1, is standing for mounting. I hate a horse that walks off when you get on them, so you might have to work with your new horse a little bit. They might very well stand still at the mounting block. Stop. But if you don't know how to fix an issue like not standing still at the mounting block, please reach out to a trainer, watch some videos online, do something, because that can be super unsafe, and it can escalate very quickly if your horse is bad enough about it. So like I said, you might work a little bit on mounting block stuff, but I have some videos on this too if you want me to post those. I have a whole process on what I do with getting on horses and how I set them up for success the first time you go to get on them. So that's usually my number 1. Number 2 is start off slow. There's no problem with just walking around on your first ride, especially if you're a little bit unconfident, a little bit nervous. There's no problem with starting slow. Walk them around on their first ride, get a feel for them, end on a good note. If you start pushing too far out of your comfort zone, out of the horse's comfort zone, that's when bad things start to happen, So there's no problem with starting slow. That's usually my number 2 rule. Number 3 is how responsive is the horse? Are you able to move them off your leg? Do they move forward when you ask? Do they come back to a stop when you ask? Again, this should pretty well resemble what they do on the lunge line. So like I said, if you have a little bit of a hotter horse, you might want to work more on, getting them comfortable going on a loose rein, getting them a little bit quieter, getting them a good stop. If they're on the duller side, you want to get them a little bit more in front of your leg, working off your leg, and that can take some different training techniques. So paying attention to those, again, is how you're going to plan that training routine with your horse and what you're going to do. And then finally, number 4 is practice your one rein stops. Whether the horse knows it or whether they don't, teach it to them, practice them every day, because you're not gonna be able to practice when you're in a situation where you need it. So if your horse doesn't know it and you end up in a bad situation, you're gonna be in trouble if you can't get your horse to come back to you. So I always say that's something you need to practice before bad things happen, before the horse spooks, before you get taken off with whatnot. And I always start those at a walk, and then you move up to the trot and eventually the canter. I also have videos on my YouTube about one-rein stops and how to start teaching them, but it's something I definitely tell people to at least practice once or twice a week in your warm-up. It takes about 5 minutes tops. It can really save you, when you get into a situation, because it doesn't matter how quiet your horse is, you never know when something might happen and you might need it. So that is always my number 4 thing that I like to have when I first start riding a horse. So hopefully, all is going well with your new horse. And like I said, don't hesitate to ever reach out to a good trainer. Most of them are more than happy to help you. A lot of people are offering virtual lessons now. A lot of people travel to your farm. And like I said, frustration starts where your knowledge ends. So if you start getting frustrated, get help before you start losing your confidence, before your horse starts losing their confidence. And like I said, I hope everything is going well with your new horse, and thanks for watching.